everybody. Jeff Cowan here, and I'm back with a new edition of my podcast entitled Right Service, Write Your Own Paycheck, the path to making over $100,000 a year when writing service in the automotive industry. And you know, at this very recording, 20% of you that are doing that job are doing just that. You're making $100,000 a year or more. But that means that 80% of you are not. So what are we going to do about that? Well, here's one thing I would recommend. I would recommend you keep listening to me. Go back and listen to my old podcast, listen to the future podcasts, because you're going to find techniques and word tracks and processes that if you put them into practice with your customers, you too will quickly reach that $100,000 a year threshold. Now, I'm coming to you at a time of a lot of unrest in the world right now as we have this virus situation going on. A lot of people nervous. And over the last 3 weeks, you know, some of you are not working, or you're working reduced hours, reduced pay and the like, and your customers, they're all nervous and the like. And so I've tried to help out as much as I can. I've taken a lot of your phone calls. I've responded to every text and email that I possibly can in trying to answer your questions and help you out. And so I thought I'd get back on here with a podcast, and what I want to do today is focus on the biggest question that I've gotten by far in number, and here's what it is. The question is, Jeff, with the customers coming in under the conditions that we're all under and the challenges that they face and we face, should we recommend everything as we normally would, or should we only do what they come in and ask for? Well, you know what? I love that question. And I'll tell you why I like that question. Because if you're one of the people that have asked me that question, that means that you're a caring person. You care about your customers, you care about your business, and you care about your own situation, and that's perfectly fine, because you should. Now, before I answer that question, to answer that question, I'll just go ahead and answer it. The answer is yes. It's more important today. It's more important today that you show the customer everything that vehicles need than at any other time in the history of them driving a vehicle. Now, let me explain to you and set this up on why I think that is so. First and foremost, the customer sees you and puts you, their mindset puts you in the same position of other essential people that are working in the world today. You're as important to them as a doctor, as a nurse, as somebody that's working in the grocery store, somebody that's in the food industry, somebody that's working at pharmacies. You're on that same level because you're helping them protect something that's very important in their life, their vehicle. And what do I mean very important? Well, you know, over the last few decades, I love reading surveys, and I've read many surveys that ask this following question, and that question is, they pose it to everybody, is what's the most important thing to you in your life? And it's amazing because whenever I see one of these surveys, the first three answers are always the same in the exact order, and they are this. Number one on everybody's list, health. Number two, food, the ability to eat and supply. And number three, transportation. Okay, so what customers are telling you is that transportation is extremely important to them, and it's even more important now today, especially with what's going on. How so? Think about it. Most of us in the United States of America and Canada are on some form of lockdown or quarantine. We're being told not to leave the house unless we have to go get food, or we have to go to the pharmacy, or we need to go see a doctor, or if we're one of the lucky few that get to go to work. Other than that, do not leave the house. So just think about it. When people come in and show up on your service drive, in a lot of these areas, they're breaking what could be a law to come in and see you. What's that tell you about them and their car and the importance that you play in their life? The other and more bigger thing is you have to keep in mind, by them getting out of their house and coming out into the world where this virus is, a virus that can kill you, they're putting themselves and their family at risk of getting this virus by coming to see you. What are they telling you? They're telling you this car is important to them. They feel they need this car to get back and forth to the grocery store, to get to the doctor if they need to go, to get to the pharmacy in case they need medicines, to get back and forth to work if they're lucky enough to be able to go to work, and or make sure that they're prepared that when they are released to go back to work, they can go back to work in a car that runs. This is extremely important to them. So when they're coming in, regardless of what they're asking for, whether it's preventative maintenance, a service, or a repair of any kind, what they're asking you is how do I make sure that my car is perfect so when I need it, it's ready to go? And your only response should be this much time and this much money. Full disclosure on everything they need after you've walked around the car and done your multi-point inspection. This much time and this much money. Now, the few people that respond, well, I didn't know it was going to be that much, or I don't know if I got that much, or I don't know if I have that much time, then your only response to that would be, how close to perfect do you want it? Because if you want it perfect and ready when you need it, it's this much time and this much money. And here's what's interesting about this. They're more likely to buy everything that you recommend now because, again, this car is more important to them today than at any other time that they've owned it. Again, they needed to get to work. They needed to prepare to go to work. They needed to get food. They needed to get health. All right, so it's important. They put you on that level. But just because they're coming in and potentially breaking laws, and just because they're coming in and potentially risking getting sick, it doesn't mean that they're going to lay down. Because it wasn't more than 12 years ago that the bulk of America and Canada and the rest of the world experienced the 2008 recession. And they understand finances a lot better today than they did 12 years ago. But there's a key difference in the 2008 thing and the epidemic that's going on right now. In 2008, the general feeling was everybody knew we were going to recover, but they knew it was going to take a number of years to do so. Today, they understand that we're going to recover, but it's only going to take a couple of months. Now, they may be having trouble making payments right now. They may not be getting paychecks. They may be getting reduced paychecks, but they know those paychecks are coming back within a few months, not a few years, within a few months. And when they do, this thing is going to roar to life. But they've got to be prepared. But that, even though they know that, they're not going to come in and lay down. You're going to have to sell them. So let me give you an example of what I'm talking about and their pushback and how you're going to get around this. Because again, you have to be able to answer the only question they came in with, which is, how do I make my car perfect? And the only way you can answer that question is give full disclosure. The only way you can give full disclosure is you have to walk around the car and you have to do a multi-point inspection and make sure you show everything to the customer. Now, we know though that when you do that, these things have happened to you before, right? Halfway through your walk around, you see something above and beyond what the customer asked for, you go to point it out, and they shut you down. But you know, Jeff, I know that the car may need a few more things, but just do what I came in for today, because that's all I can do. All right? Or you get them on the telephone call, right, in the afternoon, and you say, Mr. Customer, we've inspected your vehicle, and here's what it's going to take to solve your primary concern. But in doing a multi-point inspection, not only did we solve that problem, we saw a couple of other things that caught our attention, and they say, you know what, the primary concern, take care of that, but the extra things I'll have to do later. In both those instances, whether it's the walk around or later on in the afternoon, when they shut you down, you no longer can make the presentation. If you can't make the presentation, then you really can't answer the only question they had when they walked in the door, and that is, how do I make my car perfect? So sometimes we have to close them just on the idea of allowing us to make a presentation. Now you're going to find out here in just a few seconds that the customers really like it when you do this, because what you're telling them is hey, look, I've got your best interest at heart here, and I know that you risk breaking laws, and I know that you risk your health by coming in here, and I know you really want to know what the what your car fully needs to be perfect. So I'm going to make sure that I get that done. So let me give you a couple of examples. Now, in our training at Pro Talk, we have hundreds of these scenarios that we can deliver to you, but I'm going to focus on just a couple that are the most likely you're going to hear. So next time you walk around the vehicle and you go to point something out, or you're on the telephone and you go to point something out that your factory trained or your expertly trained technician found, and they shut you down by saying something like this. You know, I know the car probably needs a few other things, but in these times today, the economy, who knows if we're going to be working, and the paychecks and whatever, it's just a bad economy. I can't do it right now. Well, instead of saying, okay, and letting them off the hook, here's what I want you to say instead, because this is going to show that you care, and it shows that you have their best interests at heart. So here's what I want you to say. Mr. Customer, I know it's a tough economy. Hey, it's affected me, my family, my friends, my neighbors, and just about everyone else. And in times like these, everyone looks for ways to save, conserve, and change spending habits. And while many things need to be put on hold, it's never wise to make your vehicle and its needs one of those things. Why? Your vehicle is one of the items you will need most in times like these. Having a vehicle that runs efficiently and without problems and concerns is paramount in times like these. Why? Because it's your vehicle that gets you to work and makes everything else possible. Now, when you say that to the customer, they'll most likely look back at you and ask a question or say something along the lines of, well, it sounds like you've got something very important to share with me about my car. What is it? So now at that point in time, they've given you approval to make the presentation. Now you can make the presentation. Once you make the presentation, you've now answered their question, how do I make my car perfect? This much time, this much money. Now you've done your job. Now here's the thing that I want you to know. I'm not about pushing people. I'm not about twisting their arms. I never have been, virus or no virus. And I'm not about selling them things they don't need just for the sake of selling it, because that's theft and that will get you in trouble at any time. But I've always been about, and especially today, and making sure I'm doing my job. And what my job is to make sure that customer understands everything that vehicle needs to keep it perfect so it's there when they need it. And if they've gone to the trouble of possibly breaking a law, and if they've gone to the trouble of expose themselves to a virus that could kill them, I think I owe it to me to slow down, take my time, and show them how much I care by getting them to think about what they just said and getting them to listen to one of my presentations. And customers love it when you do this. And here's what's even killer about this. Closing ratios, and I know this is difficult to talk about because it's difficult times, but it is what it is, and I think it's worth noting. I'm talking to a lot of you out there in the field, and the closing ratios are through the roof. What does that mean? What that means is that customers are buying because, again, they know the car is important to them. Again, they risk breaking a law. They risk their health by coming in to see you. So they want you to do this. They want you to answer that question, okay? Now, let's take a look at one more before we move on here. They may look at you and say, Jeff, I know the vehicle needs other things, but I really have to save my money. I've been laid off, I've been furloughed, my pay's been cut back, I'm on reduced hours, I don't know when I'm going to get back to work, whatever. You know, Jeff, I just really need to save my money. Well, knowing that transportation is important to them, and knowing that getting back and forth to work is important to them, and being ready for work when it comes back, and knowing right now you add in the health thing, here's how you're going to respond to that next time they say, you know what, I know the vehicle may need some other things, but I really need to save my money. Here's what I want you to say to them. Well, the best way to save money in times like these is to make sure you're always capable of getting back and forth to the place where your money is made. And the only way I can guarantee that happens is for you to keep your vehicle properly and fully maintained, do any and all needed services at the time they need it done, at the time that they're requested to be done, as soon as possible. So, Mr. Customer, let me go ahead and show you what I found here today, and if you decide you want to go ahead and do it, we'll go ahead and get it done for you. If you decide you don't want to, that's okay too, because I don't want you to be uncomfortable, but I do want to make sure that you understand everything this vehicle needs to be perfect, because I know that you walking through the front door, risking catching this virus and risking breaking some of the local laws, this is important to you, and I just want to be able to make sure that I can do my job and show you everything you need. And again, if you decide you want to do it, we'll get it done. If you decide you don't want to do it, that's fine too, but here's what your vehicle needs. And you know what? Your customers love that. And they love it because it doesn't, in their mind, it doesn't look like you're pushing. It doesn't look like to them you're just trying to sell them something they don't need. It looks like you really have their best interest at heart. Okay? You're the best interest at heart. I know, Mr. Customer, that you said you don't want this. I know, Mr. Customer, you said you don't want me to present it. But you know what? I want to make sure that you're prepared for what's going on all the way around us. And you know what? A lot of our customers who have been taught these techniques over the years and have used them have called in and told me how much they appreciate these word tracks and word tracks like these, because that's what the customers are telling them when they're delivering their cars back. You know, I really appreciate you. I really appreciate you slowing down here today and talking to me and taking the time that you did to fully explain to me everything my vehicle needs. And even though I didn't get everything today, at least I know and I can come back and get it. Or I appreciate you doing that because I was able to get everything, so when I leave here today, I know my car is in perfect running condition and it's one less thing I have to worry about. Boy, wouldn't that be nice if you had one less thing to worry about. And you know what? You will. If you understand this customer coming through the door, they are slightly different. They're nervous. Okay, but they're also, again, I know I've said this a dozen times, they could be breaking local laws coming in to see you. They're definitely putting their health at risk to come in to see you. So what they're telling you is help me. This vehicle is important to me on a level beyond anything anybody can imagine, and I want to know. I want to know the only answer to the only question I'm going to give you, and that is, what does it take to make my car perfect so I can get to the doctor, I can get to the pharmacy, I can get to food, I can get to work, and I can ride this thing out. And when you use techniques like we're talking about here, you're showing the customers that you're willing to come in and sacrifice your health and your well-being, and you're willing to slow down and take the time and not rush them through a process, and make sure that you're able to answer that very question. This is how you make your car perfect. And another reason they like this is we've had a lot of people report is they're dying for human interaction. You know, this is one time that the technology is not going to save you. And I know you have to practice social distancing, and some of you are asking the people to park their car out in the parking lot, and you're walking out and you're keeping 6 feet away from them and whatnot, but they want to talk. And by you talking to them and taking time to slow them down and fully explain what their vehicle needs in these most critical of times, they love it, and they'll never forget you for it. You're going to be a hero to them, just like their doctors and the nurses, the people at the grocery stores and gas stations, and the other essential services. You're going to be a hero just like those people. Hey, I hope this helps you out, and of course, if you got any questions, you're more than welcome to call that number over there that you've been looking at anytime. Anybody that picks up that phone when you dial that telephone number will be able to answer any question you have. And if you want to talk to me, here's my personal cell phone number. Call anytime you like. Area code 317-506-1003, 317-506-1003. I'll do my best to pick it up when you call, but if not, leave a message, and understand I get a lot of phone calls, so it may take me 24 hours or more to call you back. But if you call me, I'll talk to you, and I'll help you out any way I can. You know, we're all in this together, and if we all work together, and we all stay focused, and we all do what's right, we'll come out of this bigger and better and stronger than we ever have, because in the United States of America, that's what we do. Hey, my name is Jeff Cowan. I have a company called Jeff Cowan's Pro Talk, and I appreciate you listening to this week's this version of this podcast entitled Right Service, Write Your Own Paycheck. I'll be back here soon with another podcast, and until then, you take care, and God bless you all. We're going to win. We're going to be there. We're going to be bigger and better than we ever were. God bless you all, and take care.